Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our really big
big
show. Where
show.
we show you some of the super biggest books that will be on your comic book stands on Wednesday. So head over to infinityflux.net right now where you can order these books. They are live. They are up there. They're available while supplies last, so you can order them. And you don't have to worry about them selling out because a lot of these will sell out very fast. This is a huge, ginormous week of books.
We say that every week, but I do think this is another week where I don't remember the last time there was this many books of this caliber.
Yeah, this is the perfect storm of caliber and number of books.
Yeah.
So many number ones, so many specials, so many kickoffs. You know, it's not even like, this absolute books or whatever. Let's see. No, there's a lot of like big books for a big series coming up.
Yeah.
Just huge stuff. So you'll definitely want to watch this video so you know a little bit more about what you're in for and what you'll want to pick up at your local comic book store. With all that said, we're going to try to keep this to a manageable size video. But let's get into it.
We will try to keep this under 4 hours, but no promises.
No promises.
Okay, so let's get started with Absolute Evil. So this is a one-shot. This is set in the Absolute Universe. I had a question about that. Somebody thought this was in the main universe. This is an Absolute book. This is written by Al Ewing, and the art is by Giuseppe Camuncoli and Stefano Nessi. Please try to avoid spoilers of this book. I think some of this stuff has already been leaked. Please try to not have any of this spoiled for you. There are some big things that happen in here, some big concepts that are put out there, and I think a lot of people are going to be talking, so please try to avoid spoilers. This book is great. So, again, this is a one-shot, and most of this book is a meeting of some of the biggest villains from the Absolute Universe. You have Joker, Ra's al Ghul, Hector Hammond, Veronica Cale, and Eleanor Thawne. So those are like your main villains from like all the main Absolute books. That's not a spoiler either. That's literally the gist of the whole story.
And a lot of
coming
this,
together.
like the first few pages of this are online that you can check out. So.
And they're kind of lamenting the fact that some heroes have risen up lately and are kind of throwing a wrench in all of their operations. Obviously, they're talking about Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and all the rest. And they also, this was the beginning of the book, and this is pretty interesting. They also talk about how this same thing happened in the past with other, let's just say, other characters who were also kind of meddling in their operations. Maybe not theirs, but meddled in operations of some other ne'er-do-wells before, and that. When that happened in the past, they were able to handle it. They were able to take care of it via certain methods. And now they're like, we need to do that again. We handled it in the past with these other group of characters when they caused problems for us. Now, this new group of characters are causing problems for us. We've got to figure out how to deal with them. And let's see. It's also, this is not a spoiler either. This is the first appearance of this universe's version of Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. And he is very similar to his main universe counterpart. He's wanting to go after a billionaire who, it's a little on the nose. He's wanting to go after a billionaire who has an island and is doing some not great things on an island. And so he's going to set off and do that. And I don't know. I'm trying not to say too much because there are such big things in here. There are some things talked about in here, some big revelations about the universe itself that I found very, very interesting. There is a big there is a name that is used that I thought was really cool. This is actually the first appearance of another character, another Absolute Universe version of a character that we haven't seen before. That character's first appearance in here as well. Actually, several. There's
quite
characters.
A few first appearances in here. Whether some characters show up in the past, some in the present. Like you said, a lot of this issue is them discussing things, but it's not boring because you are getting a bunch of different viewpoints on things. Like, they're all coming from their respective books. So Hector Hammond and all the stuff that went on.
He mentions how he was like, I was able to take care of Green Lantern. And they're like, did you really? So it is kind of neat to see these books start to congeal
It's
a
on
little
the
bit.
crossroads of a lot of them,
Yeah.
and it's scary now because you do have all these villains that the heroes have a hard time with coming together and exchanging ideas. And it's not a spoiler, like you said, that Joker, this absolute version of the Joker's in here, and probably the most we've seen of him
Yeah.
and heard what he has to say, and
Yeah.
he has a really interesting perspective on everything.
Yeah.
Where you really see, like, even though this isn't the clown version of Joker or anything, that he is just as scary.
Yeah. Oh,
and just as calculating.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very smart. He's scary because he's so calm. He's not an agent of chaos. He's like very, very calm and calculating, that kind of thing. And yeah, there in some of the things discussed in here, I just thought I was like, oh my gosh, that's like you're talking about the how and why the universe is the way it is and things like that. I just thought that was really cool.
It's a lot of like under the hood type things of nuts and bolts about why the absolute universe works the way it works.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff, and it could have ramifications for things to come. And again, there's a couple of characters at least that we see in here for the first time that may come to pass in a story at some point as well. So it's a big issue. Again, it's only a one shot. This is not a miniseries. It's only this one issue. But if you are a fan of the absolute universe of any book, any of the books, or all of the books, I definitely recommend this. Even if it's like, oh, I like absolute, Green Lantern the best. We'll still pick this up because this has its fingers in all of those different books.
And surely some of this stuff will reflect back to their books once this goes off. This also almost feels like a book that would be, at the end of the year, that's setting up stories that could possibly be in the next year.
Absolutely. So I loved it. I absolutely love this. I thought it was fantastic. So definitely don't miss it if you're a fan of the absolute universe.
And stay away from spoilers because, when we read this, there were moments where like, oh my gosh, this happened. And then a couple minutes later, it's like, oh my gosh, this happened.
Right.
And don't deprive yourself of the enjoyment of uncovering
like the page turn,
the page turns and all that. That's how books like this are crafted for those beats, and you don't want to hear those beats before you heard the whole song.
Yeah, we've had a digital preview copy of this for about a month, but that digital preview copy was only the first 17 pages. And I was like, that's weird. Normally when we get these preview copies from DC, it's the whole thing. Why is this one, the stops at 17 pages? Because when I read this and saw what's on the 18th page, I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I didn't know that beforehand, because I turned the page and literally my eyes bugged out. I was like, oh, I have questions now. And so
a big question that hopefully they address pretty soon.
Yeah. So an awesome issue, not a lot of action, but such a cool story, such a cool addition to the Absolute Universe. Highly recommended. So we have our A cover right here.
I like the format of these variants.
Yeah.
They're the heroes and villains.
So this is the Fabrizio Di Tommaso Superman and Ra's al Ghul cover. There is also, are these all the same art? No, this is Gerald Perel. This is Veronica Cale and Wonder Woman. This is Dustin Nguyen. This is Eleanor Thawne and Flash. This stuff doesn't happen in the book. It's just like a visual representation of their arch enemies. We have this beautiful Riley Rossmo cover with all the different villains on it.
They're not all in this.
They're not all in this. No, Bane's not in this. So, if you're loving the Bane storyline, I'm with you, but he's not in it. And then there's the foil version of that. And this is the one that I pre-ordered because it's so fantastic. And then we have this blank sketch variant as well. Such a phenomenal book.
Well, a big one this week. Equal. You've got Marvel and DC, and they both have big pillar books this week. We have X-Men: Age of Revelation Overture #1. This is essentially, if you think about it, your alpha book. This is the book where the other books are going to spring from, because there's not like a Age of Revelation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
It's the story's going to be told through different books. This is the part that's tying them together before the threads go out.
Yeah, and that's important because we've had those questions before. This isn't like I don't know, any other event like Blood Hunt, where Blood Hunt 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no like main book. It's all just the other books, Amazing X-Men and all those.
That's why you'll want to watch these videos over the next few weeks, because we'll kind of tell you when we start reading some of these other books, hey, this one feels like it's really carrying some of the main plot, or
Yeah.
this one's fun, but maybe it's not, addressing some of the bigger story beats. 'Cause
Yeah.
we'll be figuring that out as we go
Yeah,
as well.
and a lot of those number ones start next week, so
Yeah.
we will read all of them and tell you which ones are important and which ones are just more for fun.
Yeah. So this issue is by Jed McKay, and the art is by Ryan Stegman. Ryan Stegman, one of my favorite artists working right now, hasn't been doing enough interiors as of late, so getting him back on this is fantastic. And if you've read the Age of Revelation Zero issue, if you've read X-Men number 22, both of those kind of work as helping hands to this issue. I would say more of the issue Zero, but a lot of that is covered in here, just not as much in visual details, more through dialogue. And the thing that happens at the end of 22 will make more sense once you read this as well. But in this, we are thrust right into the Age of Revelation story in the Revelation lands. This is a world that is being controlled by Revelation, aka Doug Ramsey, who is the heir of Apocalypse, and kind of has terraformed part of the country, and it is now kind of a utopia. I would say utopia for mutants, but that would be kind of how he would bill it.
That's how he sees it, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, there's another character who kind of sees it that way too, which I was pretty surprised by.
Yeah, but of course, it's not a surprise. The big story of this is how are they going to stop Revelation, much like in Age of Apocalypse, how they stop Apocalypse. So we are meeting our core group of kind of resistance fighters, which is really cool. It's a lot of the characters you see on this cover. Some maybe are not part of that. But most of this issue is through, it sounds funny to say the eyes of Cyclops, but Scott Summers is kind of where we get a lot of our...
The entire book is red.
It's red and it's a single vision thing. But no, Cyclops plays a big part in this, where, he's kind of the character we follow through most of it. There is a lot of other really interesting stuff too. We see some event happen with the, I keep wanting to say, cloisters, but it's the choristers.
Choristers, right.
Choristers, which are kind of the...
They're almost like his, it made me think of Magneto's acolytes.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're like apostles, kind of?
Yeah, of Doug Ramsey. We do see something that happens with them that is going to kind of kick off one story beat that's going to be part of what Revelation, the character Doug Ramsey, is going to be dealing with. I feel like a lot of the little bits we get in here will be like, oh, that's what this book is about. It takes this little thread and runs with it. We've got Magneto in here. Glob is awesome in here.
Glob is one of my favorite characters in this book. I don't really want to tell you why, but it's not your father's Glob. I guess I'll say that.
Yeah, a lot of characters are familiar, but kind of run through this Age of Revelation filter.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot like Age of Apocalypse, where there's Cyclops and Gambit and Rogue and Wolverine and all those guys, but wait a minute, they're a lot different than that. This is like that. Not all those characters are in this, but that's what this feels like. Is wait a minute, Glob, for example, he's not like he normally is in the main book. He's different now. So.
Yeah, you're learning that maybe not everyone has taken the side of these resistance. Maybe some are actually good with what Doug Ramsey's doing and are now working for him. A lot of this book is discovering where the pieces are on this chessboard, and that's a really fun part of it. There is a lot of action in this as well. There's kind of a big key moment that happens that I think is going to have lasting effects throughout this storyline. But I don't want to say too much about the key moments in it, because a lot of this is being surprised by some of the twists and turns.
Yeah, and I was surprised a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some characters that maybe you thought were going to be big and aren't, and the focus is going to be on something else, or even one of the big key elements of this story we didn't see coming at all about kind of part of the narration of this. Beast plays another big part in here.
Which I love. I love Beast,
Yeah.
so...
feels like Scott and Beast are going to be big parts of this,
Yeah.
and there's fantastic reasons why that I think are back to some classic X-Men roles that they took on in the X-Men that I
Yeah.
love that we're back to that. Um, and yeah, the other thing I would say is, and we were talking about this before, what is surprising about this is the story is actually pretty simple. This is a resistance up against this new ruling thing, a lot like how Age of Apocalypse
Yeah.
was. But this time with this resistance going up against Revelation and his minions and all of that. So definitely check this out. Avoid spoilers for this one as well because there's twists and turns and there are character deaths and there are surprise characters that pop in and it all kind of ends with now we can go out into these miniseries and explore this new world.
Yeah.
Which I'm really excited about. I understand what some of the miniseries are going to be about better
Yeah.
now after reading this. So
Yeah, this is so this event too, we were talking about like all the different titles that are going to
yeah,
be part of this. So first of all, this is only going to run through December. Once December is done and January's here, they've already announced that it's go I can't remember the name of like the next phase, Shadows of something.
yeah.
But the X-Men books will be returning back to their current numbering. Like X-Men will be returning back to X-Men number 23 and that kind of thing. Wolverine number 14, So everything, this is only going to last, October, November, December, just like Age of Apocalypse did. But we were talking about the number of books involved in this. And you definitely are not going to have to read everything because, like we said, a lot of, probably something like Amazing X-Men, that's probably where the crux of the story is going to be.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have other titles like, I don't know, Radioactive Spider-Man. Well, that's probably not going to figure in too much. But if you want to know what's Spider-Man doing in this new world, oh, you can go read about that. But there's probably not going to be like a lot of big revelations in that. It's just talking about Spider-Man. But if
Yeah.
you just want to see like where is what's going to happen, are they going to defeat Revelation? That's probably only going to be in a couple of different books.
Yeah.
And like we said, we'll tell you which ones are the most important ones. So I just don't want people to get too overwhelmed with the sheer number because they are not required at all. You can just pick and choose which pieces of the story you want
Yeah.
and customize it for your reading.
Yeah,
needs,
if there's a
basically.
certain character you like, or in this, a certain story beat that you're like, I want to see what happens with this character, or, I'll say Wolverine with this mask and everything appears in here if you want to see what's going on with him. We know that Wolverine series that involves Wendigo as the
Yeah.
new Wolverine is
Yeah.
going to be looking for this Wolverine. Like, I'm sure that's where that storyline is going to. A lot of that's going to take place. A lot of
Yeah.
answers will happen in that. So there's characters or storylines you're interested in. I think it's going to be pretty obvious where those are going to be. But like you said, I think a lot of the heavy lifting in the through narrative is going to be an Amazing X-Men. Also because that's written by Jed McKay,
Yeah.
who wrote this.
Yeah.
Feels like he's kind of the head of this storyline.
Yeah.
So following where he's going to be is a good idea as well.
Yeah, but I love this. I mean, I wasn't so keen on this when they first announced it, but then I read that Age of Revelation number 0, which I actually do recommend picking that up if you're able to. We still have copies available on our website, infinityflux.net. If you want that, it's like $5, I think, because that tells us every single detail about how we get to this point.
Yeah.
And then this book is like, where do we go now that we are at this point? So recommend that book. It's really, really good. But that one book completely sold me, and then this one sold me again. I loved this, and I'm very. It may go the route of a lot of Marvel events and kind of peter out at the end, but for now, I'm completely on board. I want to read all of it, and this is a great start, I think.
Yeah, it's a great kickoff for this.
Yeah.
So we've got our A cover right here by Ryan Stegman. That's what your interior looks like. We also have, I really like this one. This is the Ricky Agawa variant with Wolverine. I think Ricky Agawa is doing a variant for every one of the number ones of this series.
Nice.
Some I like more than others. I do really like this one.
Yeah.
I like this Wolverine design.
Mm-hmm.
We also have this one. This is the Corey Smith variant. So you can see on there, like I said, Beast and Cyclops play a big role in this, and you'll want to see why.
What they do with Cyclops and Beast in this is very cool, and it's something that it's different. It's something that you don't really see.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something that they haven't really done before. So it's very cool.
We also have this Aaron Cooter variant. We've got this beautiful art germ variant with Psylocke. Psylocke is in this and has some great moments. And we also have this, I think this is a 1 in 25 Mark Bagley variant for selling for $19.99. Very cool. Once again, you got Psylocke, Cyclops, and Beast on the cover, and they all feature in this issue.
Yep. All right, so
Was that it for the big books?
nope, no,
way.
we're only just getting started. We're only just scratching the surface. This is Justice League: The Omega Act Special. So this is written by Joshua Williamson. The art is by Yasmin Putri and Cian Tormey. This is a prologue to the DCKO event, which starts next week. So on October 8th is when DCKO #1 comes out, and that is the kickoff to that event, just like this X-Men book was for this. We read the DCKO #1 a couple weeks ago, and we really liked it. But reading this makes that issue make even more sense.
Yeah.
So this is if you're wanting to read DCKO, I do recommend picking this up. This story is cool because it spans a wide range of time from Krypton before it was destroyed all the way to the 853rd century. I don't want to tell you really anything about the Krypton parts, and it kind of goes back and forth between these things. I don't want to tell you about the Krypton parts because there are some potentially big revelations about Krypton and some of the things that happened on Krypton that might inform the DCKO event later. So more to come on that. I'm going to let you experience that for yourself. But a lot of this issue is the Time Trapper taking Booster Gold and one other character all the way into the 853rd century to show them just how bad and powerful Darkseid and his Legion are, and basically to say there's no hope.
Yeah.
You are not going to win this. The best thing you can do is to run. Just run. And props to Booster Gold. You know, he's usually like kind of the goofy one. He's like, you know, I'm not giving up. There has to be a way to defeat them. I don't care what you say. And Time Trapper tells him, I have seen all possible timelines and realities, and you will not win this upcoming battle. But Booster Gold isn't hearing that, you know. So I thought that was really cool. This does, take elements. It continues from the current Superman run, the Justice League Unlimited, and the We Are Yesterday storyline.
I was gonna say you were maybe about to say it, but a lot of those miniseries we read, like the Question, like Challenge to the Unknown, there is a moment where all those kind of feed into here as well, and you're like, oh, I get what those were all saying.
Yeah, there's like this nice double-page spread, and there's all this stuff that goes in a circle. It's like, oh, there's that miniseries, and there's that miniseries, and you can just sort of see how they've been building to this.
Yeah.
It's really, really impressive.
Very natural feeling.
Yeah, it doesn't, none of it feels forced. It's very impressive how well DC has been able to make all of their books feel connected, but also separate enough to where you can only just read one or two of them and still get a full story. Like, you can't believe how good of a job they did with that.
Yasmin Putri's art in this is phenomenal.
The art's beautiful. Now, this does lead perfectly into DCKO #1 that, again, comes out on the 8th. So definitely, pick this up if you want to read that. We will be talking extensively about DCKO in the weeks and months to come because I think it runs all the way through beginning of March. I think is when they said it ends, and it's not a universe-wide thing. Okay, so it's going to be DCKO, it's going to be Superman and Justice League, Flash, Titans, and maybe that was it. But and there's some tie-ins in December, but it's not universe wide. So like Matt Fraction's Batman is going to be untouched. Batgirl untouched. Like it's not going to touch everything. But anyway, the whole thing gets kicked off right here in this prologue, and then we will be off to the races next week when #1 comes out. Don't want to say anything more because there are some spoilery things in here as well.
Some fun cameos from different characters that maybe you didn't expect to see.
Yeah. So, I mean, there it is. There's another one. There's another big book that's kicking off a whole new thing. So, starts right here. There's our A cover, and then there's some cool variants for this one. This is the Salvador LaRocca variant with Superman and Doomsday. Some interesting stuff in this, maybe about that. And then this is I don't have the ratio on this one. Maybe a 1 in 25 or a 1 in 10. So. This is Dawn Aguilo. We're selling this one for $19.99 with Booster Gold. Booster Gold has a lot of great moments in this.
Okay, another big at number one this week is Spider-Man Noir #1. This is by Eric Larson, the creator of Savage Dragon, artist of Amazing Spider-Man back in the 90s, is back writing Spider-Man Noir with art by Andrea Brocado. And this was really fun. I was super impressed by this.
Yeah, I liked
The
it.
tone of it, this version of Spider-Man Noir, which this is a Spider-Man Noir. This isn't like an Elseworlds in the sense of like it's never touched the other stuff. This Spider-Man Noir went through the Spider-Verse stuff. He
Yeah.
knows about all that event, and he was part of that. He makes reference to Spider-Ham at one point, but he is back in his own universe.
Yeah, and don't worry, this is not a Spider-Verse book. There's no
No.
multiversal shenanigans. He just talks about it for a minute.
Yeah, it's just like he's experienced quite a bit in his life. This is set in 1939. Like it almost feels like his universe is perpetually in 1939. But we get a lot of action in here to begin with as he faces off against the Scorpion Gang, which you get a lot of fun like analogs for Spider-Man villains, but kind of through the lens of the Spider-Man Noir universe. There's a lot of fun like quippiness, but he is a more brutal Spider-Man. He's a little bit more deadly than your regular Peter Parker, but he almost kind of has to be in this form of this world. But yeah, a lot of the beginning of this is action and stuff, but we also do get some classic Parker luck in here, as he has an apartment, and because of all these adventures he's been going on with like the Spider-Verse and all these things, he's really late on his rent and he cannot afford it. So that's a very classic Peter Parker thing. And he has a detective agency that he needs to get back to and get back running. And someone walks through his door at the detective agency with a case of someone very close to them that has been murdered. If you've seen the cover for issue #2, you can kind of guess who this.
I think it says in the solicitation for this one. I'm pretty sure. I'll look just so we don't spoil anything. I think it says things were going well till certain the dame's name, and then it says it right there.
Yeah. Well, Gwen Stacy walks in. But a Spider-Man Noir universe version of Gwen Stacy.
Yep.
Now, it feels like we're touching on a very familiar story with her, but through the lens of the Noir universe. And yeah, it's pretty simple of like, he now needs to figure out who did this. But at the end, when you figure out maybe what happened, this whole issue comes full circle.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple murder mystery, right? Private eye gonna investigate a murder, right? That's simple, and that's fine. Simple is a good thing. That's not bad at all. And I was like, all right, cool. He's gonna find out who done it, basically. But then there's a little twist, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay, now this is a little something different.
This could, I don't know. This could backfire on Spider-Man quite a bit. But this was really fun. Highly recommend it.
Good artwork, great action.
Yeah,
very cool.
I think the dialogue and stuff felt really classic Spider-Man, which was really fun. So we've got our A cover here by Simone DeMeo, who's doing all the A covers for this series, and they look phenomenal. We also have a David Mack cover.
Oh, nice.
We have an Eric Larson cover. He did a cover for his own book, which is very cool.
There's your Gwen Stacy. We were trying not to spoil it for a minute, but it's right there on the cover.
We have a 1/25 Sorrentino variant that we're selling for $39.99.
That looks nice.
And we have a 1/50 Jerome Opeña cover. It's really cool that we're selling for $59.99.
Yeah, really fun Spider-Man Noir. Okay. Any other week, this would have been the first book we talk about. It's crazy that this is the 5th book in the list because it's that big of a week. This is Batman #2. This is from Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez, just like the first one was. And this issue starts right where the last one left off, with Robin being held at gunpoint by some Gotham City police officers after he took down some goons. And surprisingly enough, the cops are able to subdue Robin, and they throw him in the back of their paddy wagon. And there are some other criminals back there who are not handcuffed and are not happy to see Robin. And this is Tim Drake Robin. So if you can't tell by the costume, I'm sure you read the first one, but just in case. And so we get some good action scenes with Robin, with Tim Drake. Tim Drake is the focal point of this issue. Yes,
Yeah.
Batman is in it. Batman finds out that Robin's been captured by the cops, and he comes to rescue him. But that's not till later. So we get some great Tim Drake action. This Tim Drake fans are going to be very, very happy with this.
And he is very capable of
He's
taking
very
care of
capable.
himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also get some nice flashback scenes of Bruce and Tim, where with Bruce teaching Tim how to drive a stick shift. Now, there's a little something there because Damien is also there. But I thought back to the '90s when when Tim Drake got his ongoing series and he had his own car, that red car, like a Robin mobile. I was like, wait a minute, he should have already known how to drive. And why is Damien there? But forget that stuff.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago, right? So don't worry about that. But yeah, we get some nice father-son moments between Bruce and Tim. We get some great moments between Batman and Robin. We get some just Robin moments by himself, and
Proving
it's all
why
great.
he's, still capable of being the prime Robin.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's just really cool. Now, Matt Fraction has said that each issue of this series is going to more or less be a one and done
Yeah.
story. We saw that with the first issue with Killer Croc. The Killer Croc thing does not continue into this. This is its own story, and this more or less wraps up by the time this issue's over. There is a subplot that's going to carry on to each issue involving Commissioner Vandal Savage trying to turn the police department and maybe even the city against Batman and his allies. So that is going to be a connective piece of thread. But for the most part, each issue is telling its own story, and I welcome that because we've had so many big, epic Batman stories for so long, and now we're getting these nice, easily digestible Batman stories. And I'm loving this because Batman feels a little bit more classic than he has. He's still the Dark Knight, right? He's still striking fear in the hearts of criminals, but he's not as angry and just bitter and dark and pushing his family away. That's not the Batman we get in this. He's not quipping like Spider-Man either, but he's just not as angry and carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's not that anymore. And it's great. I mean, it totally works. Again, Tim Drake in this is phenomenal. So another fantastic issue of Batman. We had a preview copy of this a couple months ago. I read it. We read it back when number one came out. I like this even better than number one.
Yeah.
Rereading it over the weekend, I still like it even better than number one. And I loved issue number one. So that just speaks to how much I love this one. So another fantastic issue of Batman, highly recommended. You can pick this up and read it pretty much without reading anything else, and it's great. So we have our A cover right here, and we got some great variants for this. This is the Jim Lee variant. This is the Julian Totino Tedesco variant, and that's kind of sort of what the book is about right there, right?
There's a lot of that.
Yep. This is the one I pre-ordered. This is the Jorge Jimenez Robin cover. This matches the number one cover. This is the all red cover. That's weird.
He's hanging upside down like a bat.
I like this. This is Jimenez, right? Yeah. I like this. The Jorge Jimenez, like the gadgets cover. We do get a few more gadgets in this, like in the first issue, how there was these little captions that said, Bat Visor can do this. We get a few more of that in here, so that's really cool.
I hope that's a theme that continues.
Yeah, they keep going, so we get some more Bat gadgets there. We have this really nice virgin foil version of the A cover. That looks great. And we have this 1 in 25 David Aja variant that we're selling for $14.99. He's been doing a lot of these types of covers, and they look awesome.
Well, next up, another big book this week is Venom issue 250. This is a landmark issue. It is a bigger size issue. I'm not sure how many pages it is, but it's pretty big. It's got a main story and it's got a little B story in it. But this one is really cool too because the art flips back and forth depending on the story between Terry Dodson doing the Mary Jane part of this and Todd Knock handling the Skrull part of this. Now, that's not too much of a spoiler. In a previous issue, we saw on the last page there's a Skrull who is kind of in a ship fleeing because he has learned that there is a cult of Null.
That's hard to say too. Cult of Null.
Cult of Null that is gaining traction and steam out in space. Now, I'm not sure. I probably should know who this Skrull is. He's a Skrull with hair. I think he's been in other stuff before.
Has
maybe
he? He's like a Super Skrull. He's not the Super Skrull, but he's like a, I don't know. He's like a genetically enhanced to be a super guy. I don't know.
Yeah, and so his thing is like, hey, if I know how bad Null is, and because all the stuff going on in Imperial, I don't really have a whole lot of people to turn to for this. It's all in chaos, but I know that I think he even calls him like the Space Knight or whatever.
Yeah.
Venom took down Null before. I need to warn Venom on Earth.
And just real quick about Imperial, the events from Imperial and how like the big, like there's a big war in the galaxy, that actually is mentioned here and in also Amazing Spider-Man as well. So it's kind of neat to see the effects of that sprinkled into some other books as well.
Yeah, so his goal, this Skrull's goal, is to head to Earth and warn Venom about what is coming. But he's going to run into a lot of obstacles along the way as we see this cult of Null and how dangerous they are and how widespread they are. So
he thinks, oh my gosh, it's coming. No, it's already here.
Yeah, and so that's a really cool part of this. Plus, fantastic Todd Knock art.
Love it.
That I just devoured. I loved it. The other story in here is Mary Jane, and this goes back and forth. It's like every other page, or that kind of thing. And it is kind of weird at first because you've got this pretty epic, scary story with the Skrull, and Mary Jane's story is continuing from previous issues of Venom, where she is
in my notes I say she's trying to get her groove back. She's trying to get new like modeling gigs and acting gigs and things like that.
She goes and sees her manager, who basically is like, you can't be picky about what jobs you take. Like, you're not the hotness anymore. You've got to get back out there, or you're going to be stuck doing, I forget what kind of commercial.
It's like a vacuum cleaner commercial or
something like that. But Mary Jane is going to try, and she's still dealing with the stuff with Venom, and she doesn't really want to be connected to the symbiote because of kind of the revelations about Venom and his ties with Eddie Brock and stuff. But she's still trying to live her own life, as she is going to attempt to get some auditions, but in a very Spider-Man fashion. She's always late for these. And she's missed out on a lot of jobs, and she's not reliable because of this other identity she has. But there is Madame Mask also appears in this and is hot on her tail trying to stop her. And it's a pretty quaint story, I'd say. It's pretty, not low stakes, but, it's not huge until the stories do eventually.
They do intersect.
Intersect, and I'm very excited to see what happens from there. Now, what this kind of leaves us with as well, and there's a lot of talk of Null. You'll have to wait to see if you actually see him and the bigger story here. We do know we are getting a Null series coming in, you said January?
Yeah.
That this also is leading into. But I'm very interested to see how all of this stuff is going to coalesce next year with all these books, because it does feel like this is going to touch pretty heavily a lot of places.
Yeah, so the Null stuff in here continues in Null #1 in January. Like, that's the next time we'll see any of that piece of the story. But we know we have Venom number 251 in November and 252 in December. And there's still some big stuff coming, because we've seen from the solicitations, and we've talked about it on these videos, Venom number 252, there's a new, like, I think there's a new host. Like, I think Venom has a new host because he looks big and bulky like Venom, but it almost looks like the Ben Reilly suit, the blue and the red with the big black spider. And the solicitation mentions who is, Venom has a new suit and a new name and that kind of thing. So there are still big things to come for Venom that don't involve Null. And we'll see that over the next couple of months. And then we'll circle back around to Null in January.
Yes. All that being said, that's a big story in here. There is a backup story in here that feels almost more like the Symbiote Spider-Man miniseries that we've gotten a few of. And it takes place in the past. It's focused on Eddie Brock.
Yeah, it said it takes place between issues 4 and 5 of the original Venom Lethal Protector miniseries from 1993. I didn't really know why it was in there.
I didn't know. And it ended in a weird space. There was like,
I think it's going to be continued though.
Is it? It didn't say like to be continued in something. Okay. So that one was interesting. I didn't really know why that was tacked on at the end of this.
Beautiful Carlos Gomez artwork, so I didn't mind it being there. But after I read it, I was like, why'd they do that?
Yeah. But still a really cool issue. If you've been reading Venom this whole time, you'll definitely want to pick up this issue. And I can't wait to see what's for this Venom series in the future because I really like it. This is one of my
Yeah.
favorite Marvel books.
Yeah, I mean, All New Venom is done, right? It ran 10 issues and it's done, but this is ostensibly number 11. Basically,
Yes.
it's essentially the next issue.
It is, and we'll be talking about the issue 251
Yep.
when that releases
Yeah.
and continue the story and see where it goes. So we've got our A cover here with Null. This does not happen. This looks like more of something that happened during King in Black.
Right.
That
Yeah, that
confrontation
does not happen.
And of course, we've got some variants for this one as well. We've got this beautiful Carlos Gomez art. We've got a Greg Capullo cover.
Nice.
We've got this one, which is fantastic. This is the Muppets cover, which I love with Rolf in his Secret Wars. This is Nick Bradshaw, I believe. So that is awesome. We have a black blank cover. We have this Anadito foil, spot foil cover. Very nice.
Look at his teeth. He's got like nice, like pearly whites.
I know.
You know?
They're not as sharp. They just look like people teeth with some pronounced canines, but that's about it. We have a 1 in 25. This is Jerome Opeña. We're selling for $19.99. And that's it.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite books of the week, and it's something brand new. This is Gunpowder Prophets. This is the first issue. This is published by Mad Cave. It's written by Justin Jordan, and the art is by Patrick Piazzalunga. And this is so much fun. I love this, and I love that it came out now. So this book gives me vibes of The Sixth Gun, which is a huge compliment because I love The Sixth Gun. But whereas The Sixth Gun is like Supernatural meets Old West, this is Supernatural meets 70s buddy cop, like Starsky and Hutch kind of grindhouse type storytelling. But lots of supernatural elements still. So in this issue, these bounty hunters slash guns for hire, that's Huck and that's Marley. They are hired by a woman named Mrs. Argento to rescue her daughter, whose name is America. I don't want you to think I'm talking about the girl, not the country. The daughter's name is America, and Mrs. Argento wants them to rescue her daughter from her husband, who started a cult, and they are planning to sacrifice America, the girl, not the country, but they are planning to sacrifice America in a couple of days. This cult is. But it's not just any cult. So Mr. and Mrs. Argento, they met through their shared love of the occult and supernatural and mysterious things like that. But Mrs. Argento left when Mr. Argento's quest for knowledge became a lust for power. And he's like, I want to be omnipotent. I want to know all, I want all this knowledge, and I want to get into the deep supernatural summoning things and things like that. So Huck and Marley, they do take the job and they sneak into the cult's estate in Louisiana. But it's not going to be easy to rescue America. It's not just going to be like a simple snatch and grab, get in, get out. It's going to be a lot more complicated than that. But I'm not going to tell you how it goes or what it's like. I want you to experience that for yourself. There is something interesting at the end of this that I think is going to make for a really cool story. We see the cover for issue number 2 at the end of the issue. You can also see that online. That looks like it's going to be a bunch of fun with like this biker gang going after them. So I think that's going to be cool. But this is really, really cool. The artwork is great. I like the setting. I like that it's set. And I do believe it's not just the aesthetic. I'm pretty sure it is set in the 70s because they mention, Hug mentions how he hasn't done something since 1966, and he's not that old, right? So I think it's in the 70s. So the aesthetic is great. There is a lot of great action. And even though this deals with the supernatural and some dark things like that, there is still some fun and humor in this as well. It's not super slapsticky, but it's also not super dark either. It's right there in the middle. Huck and Marley here, they are great characters. Huck is very capable, but he also doesn't take things very seriously, whereas Marley is this big hulking brute who just wants to get the job done. He's willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. He's very strong and can take down a whole bunch of guys, so that's really cool. But yeah, this is just really, really fun. This is the perfect time of year to be reading a fun supernatural book like this. So yeah, if you're just looking for something brand new, fun, like a fresh to read. I highly recommend this. I don't know how long it's going to be. I wish it would be an ongoing because this is just really really fun. I liked everything about it. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this really nice Jorge Corona variant too.
They fight a tentacle monster.
Not in this one, but this is
The kind of place
it's
they
the
would.
kind of place they would. Like the story is set up in a way to where this maybe could happen.
Okay. Well, next up, I've got a new indie book. This one is from Image. This is The Author Immortal. This is by Frank Barbary, and Morgan Beam does the art. And this is really cool. It's a little hard to explain. This is an oversized issue. There's a lot of story in here. So, in this, we follow a character named Hector. This is him right here. He is a dad. He's a writer, kind of an amateur writer, and a teacher, but not, like maybe I don't know if they really said. I think probably at like a high school or a college or something like that. Um, and his life is maybe not great. There's some hints at some other stuff going on with him, just like how his life is not going well. His child is transitioning, and he's having kind of a hard time with that. But uh, he gets a message all of a sudden that this renowned writer, this young adult fiction writer, wants to meet with him. This seems huge. This is someone who everyone has this author's books on their shelf. There's been movies made about this, all of that. But this author lately has started to have some pretty bad hot takes on things and has lost the public favor, and a lot of people are now against him, and it's very familiar to another certain writer in
Yeah.
the real world. But I do really like the way this plays off of that. And so Hector is very excited, but also very trepidatious. He lacks a lot of confidence in, that he's qualified for this job, and just the way his life's been going doesn't feel like it's going to work out great. Um, but his wife is very encouraging and like, hey, you're gonna do great. So they work out this meeting to go meet with this author, and they think it's not going to be a big deal. We're just going to talk probably to their publicist. The author's not going to be there. The elevator opens, and that author is standing there. Now, the other thing about Hector is he is a scholar on another writer, one that sounds like from quite a few years ago. Maybe this author had passed away, and is kind of a classic young adult writer. Well, this new writer that he's going to meet with says that she kind of got the rights to all of this other writer's estate and characters, and to kind of build back how much people used to love her, she's going to rewrite those and make new versions of them and update them. But she's like, I don't really care about this. You're the expert on it. You will get co-writing credits and everything because your writing's terrible. I just need you because you're a scholar of this person.
She needs his knowledge, basically.
Needs his knowledge base. I'm going to fly you and your family out to this author's estate, and you're going to be able to pour through his library and find all of this stuff and help me write all this. Now, if it wasn't for this, $1 million plus paycheck, he definitely would turn this down, but he's not really in a place to do this when his child finds out that he is working with this author who is adamantly against their lifestyle. She very much is not happy with his decisions about this, but they are all going to this estate to do some research. Now, this all sounds very like realistic, except there's something going on. This writer's books, this famous writer who's now maybe not in people's favor, we see snippets of different people's houses where they have this book on their shelf, and something's seeping out of it. It's a black, smoky, maybe a liquid, maybe not, and is creating something that looks like this up here with teeth that is attacking people who own that book.
Is it a Venom symbiote?
It looks kind of like a Venom symbiote. And maybe we learned that that author has made some deal that they have to finally pay up for in the supernatural. there's something else that happens at this estate when Hector and his family get there that leads to more questions and kind of a cold open to this issue that speaks to maybe some more supernatural things going on. Okay. This is a very rich book with a lot going on. This feels like a little bit of the book Unwritten from Vertigo from years ago that I really enjoyed. I like books about books and the significance and the power of books, and that's kind of what this is about, is how they have an impact on people in a wide range, and what the book says about things. And I just think it was really, really cool. I highly recommend it. I'm not sure how many issues it's going to be, but if you want something, it's definitely feels very indie book. Yeah. But you get a lot of story in here.
It's a good spooky season read.
Kind of. It's not super scary, but it's very like dark fantasy. Okay. I would say. Okay. And where the last page ends, I'm like, I thought I knew where this story is going, and it took a hard turn in another direction. Nice. So that was really cool. So we've got our A cover here. And I believe that is your interior artist. It almost looks watercolor painted. Mm-hmm. So that also gave me like kind of a big Vertigo vibe. And we've got this variant, which looks like an issue of Unwritten. This might even be an author or an artist that worked on those. I'm not sure. But this is the Shimizu variant. And once you read it, that kind of makes sense. So definitely check it out if that sounds like something you would like.
Nice. I've got another new book. This is Starship Godzilla. This is the first issue of the third book in the shared Godzilla universe that IDW has started up within the last couple months. This is written by Chris Gooch, and the art is by Oliver Ono. And this book gives me vibes, just to give you an idea about what the vibe is. Guardians of the Galaxy mixed with Alien, and it all takes place inside Mechagodzilla, which sounds pretty crazy. And Mechagodzilla is apparently huge because these characters pilot Mechagodzilla as like a big starship through space. But, Mechagodzilla, I mean, it's big, right? But it's like Godzilla big, but this thing has like levels and rooms for all the crew and like a big crew and everything.
Yeah, because I would say Mechagodzilla, at least when you see in the movies, it's like the size of a really big building.
Right. This is pretty big. So, but it's neat though. So it's about
like a Star Destroyer.
Kind of, yeah. So, like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's this roguish group. There's 4 main characters, at least for now. And this group is hired by a mysterious client to steal some precious alien eggs. And the book opens, and if you got the sampler book, the IDW sampler, the free comic book day book, you got the opening pages in that book. So this is those again. And they're like on a space station or something, and they're trying to steal these eggs in this big incubator, these alien eggs from this group because they've been hired to do so. And they do steal the eggs. They get the eggs back onto their ship, which again is Mechagodzilla. But one of the eggs hatches, and the thing inside the egg gets out, and then from there it's kind of like Alien, where the crew has to sort of figure out where the alien is and what is it, how dangerous is it. And there's even scenes where it looks like it can kind of like melt through floors, kind of like Xenomorph's blood just keeps dripping, so it's kind of like that as well. So they're hunting through the ship trying to find this alien. We don't know who the buyer is or why they wanted these eggs, and that kind of seems like that might be a larger mystery that will carry on into other issues. So more to come with that story. But this was really fun. I like the artwork. It's really nice and stylized. I mean, it looks like, I don't know if the it's not yeah, that's your interior artist right there. So that's kind of what the book looks like on the inside.
Very colorful.
Yeah, it's very colorful, very stylized, but it works really well for this. It's really fun. I like these characters already, and there's a lot more that we're going to learn about them as the book comes, and you'll see what I mean when you read the ending of it. But a very cool new book. It is in the same universe as the main Godzilla book, and also Godzilla Escape the Dead Zone, but it's very disconnected because this all takes place in space, whereas those other two are on Earth. But yeah, really cool. I think maybe I like this even better than the other two, and I like the other 2 books as well. But this one, just something about this that is really, really cool. A cool mystery at the end, a cool twist at the end that I want to see play out. So very good new start for a new Godzilla book. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this 1 in 25 Bob Eggleton cover. You can kind of get a look at Mechagodzilla there. We're selling this one for $39.99.
Speaking of space and aliens and all of that,
Wow.
Amazing Spider-Man issue number
There you go.
13. This is back with Peter Parker in space.
Peter Parker in space.
Along with pigs.
Right.
The art is back with Pepe Larraz, which is amazing looking.
Yes.
Previously, Peter Parker had run into one, he doesn't know how he got in space or whatever, we don't know, but he met up with this alien called Dr. Xanto Starblood, who seemed like a cool guy until he realized that
he wasn't.
Until he learned that he has a bunch of aliens on his ship in like storage units that he is experimenting on, and Peter Parker freed them, and one of those included Rocket Raccoon. One of those is Symbi, your little symbiote, which we see kind of what he can do in here.
Yep.
But now they have stopped the Dr. Xanto, and they are going to decide what to do with him. This kind of flashes back and forth between them trying to figure out what to do, and then a couple of days in the future, I think like 4 days in the future, where you're going to see how these two play off together eventually. But when they're trying to decide, Rocket and all the other aliens are really cool with maybe just shoving this guy in an airlock and sending him out into space, because he had them locked up and they have no compassion for him. But Peter kind of is like, we're no better than him if we do this. Let's think about it. But Peter's pretty much alone in his ideas involving what to do with Dr. Xanto Starblood. But we bounce back and forth, and to current, when these space traveling refugees are confronted by a pretty formidable and recognizable Marvel cosmic villain that I was not expecting to see in this.
No, but I'm glad that they were in it because it was really cool.
It was really cool, and it has a ton of action in that part where this feels very Guardians of the Galaxy, but with a team with Peter and Rocket and Symbi and some of these other characters that we meet along the way.
This feels a lot like a Guardians of the Galaxy book. That's not a bad thing, but it's like Peter is Star-Lord, Rocket's Rocket, Symbi is like a little Groot. You've got the big Xantos. He's like your Drax, and then there's this character right here. She's like your Gamora.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing though, but it's cool that it feels that way.
Yeah, and that is a big action scene, and that's really, really fun. But you see how these two intersect, and maybe why Peter wants to keep Dr. Xanto around for so long, because it does tie in with the bigger story that was set up, issues and issues ago. So this was really cool. I'm glad there was so much action in it. You see Spider-Man use his new suit in really cool ways, like functionality of it. He has kind of adopted and is really cool and very unique now. It is standing out as a new, notable Spider-Man suit in a really cool way.
And even more than just using his new suit, like Spider-Man in this is powerful and he's confident and he's capable. He doesn't get his butt kicked. He's the one kicking butt, and I just feel like we haven't seen Spider-Man be like that in a long time.
Yeah. In the previous, before they got to the storyline, he was getting his butt handed to him, the Hellgate. We might be seeing a Spider-Man who, when he returns, can take on Hellgate. Yeah. And that's going to be really cool. Symbi has some great little bits in here. He's very crazy. Like, all he does is like laugh and stick to things. And
when they first showed Symbi as one of the characters in the story arc, I was like, come on, another symbiote character. Oh, and he's supposed to be cutesy. Really, guys, come on. I don't feel that way anymore. I love Symbi. Like, he's great in this, so
he's kind of chaos in a really fun way.
Very cool.
But this is my ideal Spider-Man book right now. If this was just called, Spider-Man in Space or Cosmic Spider-Man, this was its own thing, I would be all for it, because I'm now super interested in what this story going on, these characters. It only took 2 issues in this world for me to really like everything going on in space.
I loved this issue.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but I think this may be my favorite issue of Amazing Spider-Man in years.
Yeah, that very much could be the case.
Because this was everything about it was awesome. I rated it 5 stars on Comic Geeks. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, so
just make this the story. I don't really care as much about the other one now that we have this.
Just if you're a Rocket fan, Rocket's great in here.
Rocket's great in this.
He's got great, Rocket moments,
Yeah,
great banter with Spider-Man. It's really fun.
Really good.
So highly recommend Amazing Spider-Man. And like it says right there, it says feels the effects of Imperial.
And that's true.
The exact wording I would use.
Yeah.
It does. There is, reasons why, they're out here in space, and it does have to do with Imperial a little bit. So that is really fun. That is your A cover. We've also got a fantastic Bermejo cover.
This does not happen. Yeah, it's not in the book.
This Spider-Man is not even in it.
No.
We also have this Pere Perez cover. Those characters are in it, and they pretty much that's like your Guardians team.
I really like. I don't remember her name, but this character, I really like her a lot.
Yeah,
like they're all great.
There's one character, he's not on that cover, that has almost a very Groot moment of peace, and then that is shattered.
Yeah.
We've got this Gomez variant. This is for the White Tiger we'll be talking about here in a minute. We've got, this one's really nice. This is the Valerio Schiti 1 in 25 were selling for $11.99, where you got both Spider-Mans on there. And then we have the big one. This is the 1 in 100 Libramejo Virgin variant. They were selling for $69.99.
Yeah, you guys have heard us be fairly critical about Amazing Spider-Man over the last, few months, couple years, whatever. But that issue, I absolutely loved it. I had such a blast reading it when it was over. I wanted more. Like, I wanted to read it again. It was great.
Yeah, we'll tell you when we love it, and we loved it.
Yeah, we loved it. All right, so another number one. This is from DC, and this is DC's Zatannic Panic. And this is, just like they do for a lot of holidays, this is DC's one-shot with 8 different anthology stories celebrating Halloween. This is the perfect Halloween book. There's, like I said, 8 different stories from different creative teams with different characters. Of course, it starts off with a story about Zatanna. It's called Zatannic Panic. From Lyndon Redchenka and John McCree. And Zatanna gets trapped in this other realm by someone who thinks that she has used magic to better her own life at the expense of other better magicians. And so she kind of has to remember some of the things that her father taught her when she was young in order to get out of this realm. There's a really cool story called Ouroboros, which is a palindromic Batman story that reads the same from back to front. You can kind of read it either way, and it's kind of the same story, where Batman confronts a cult that worships the Ouroboros serpent. My favorite story in this is the third one. It's called Full Size Bars. Written by Daniel Warren Johnson. The art is by Riley Rossmo. And it's a Plastic Man story. And all the parents in this neighborhood, they have been absorbed by this monster that's essentially the embodiment of hatred. And Plastic Man needs the help of the children of those parents in order to defeat this monster and free their parents. But the help that he needs from those children is not what you think. We might see it on a variant cover in a second. And that was really cool. There's great artwork in that one, and like some body horror stuff, which is cool. There is a story called In Your Eyes about Warlord, who gets captured by this monster demon thing who thinks that it should be the rightful hero of Skartaris. So it traps Warlord in this like circle of light, and says, all you have to, you're not locked in anywhere. You can step out of this circle of light, and when you do, our bodies will get switched, and I'll then be the hero. But Warlord said, I'm not going to do that. So he spends decades in this circle of light. There's a story with Etrigan the Demon. There's a story with Swamp Thing and Constantine. There is a story with Raven. And the last story is called The Haunted Comic. It's a story with Ambush Bug, and he's running this detective agency, and he has a client that he knows is supposed to come meet him, but the client goes missing. So he has to follow all these clues to figure out where this client went, and all of those clues take him into each of the previous stories in the book.
That's cool.
Which is pretty, because Ambush Bug breaks the fourth wall, so that story connects to all the other stories as well. So it's really cool. So just another one. DC does a lot of these for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and that kind of thing. So this is the annual Halloween DC book. It's a big square bound book too. You can see it's got a little bit of a spine to it. So 8 stories in here. for $9.99. So a very good deal there. So there's our A cover, and then we have, this is beautiful. This is the Reiko variant with Zatanna, and then is this Rossmo?
Yeah.
Is it?
No, that's a.
Oh, this is Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. So this is Plastic Man, and this kind of sort of gives you an idea about what that story is. That story was hilarious. It was so good.
Okay, next up, I've got a very interesting book that I'm going to have to stop myself from going too long on because I told Matt before this is a book that feels like it was made just for me, but also no one else. So hopefully there's people out there who will find
Stop
this really...
hogging all the books, right?
I know.
Can you make some for me too?
So hopefully there's someone out there who is also equally interested in this. This is Last Day of H.P. Lovecraft, or The Last Day of H.P. Lovecraft. This is by Romuald Giulivo, and Jacob Rebelka does the art on here. And this is what the art looks on the inside. It's not all red and black and white. There's color and everything, but it does have a very indie comic feel to it. Um, and this, I believe, was translated. I don't remember if it was French or Italian, but it was originally released, and this is the English translation of that. And I think it's going to be a couple of issues long telling this, but this is a very dreamy um, feeling, in very much of Lovecraft, of the last day of H.P. Lovecraft before he dies. He is in a hospital. He is suffering from cancer of the small intestine, which really happened because he had very poor nutrition. And we see the doctors and nurses there who, I mean, Lovecraft definitely had some acolytes while he was alive, but really it didn't hit till after his death, like a lot of artists and writers. And the doctors and nurses there are very flippant about him. They're like, "Oh, he'll be dead in a couple of hours, and we need this room open." And who is that guy? Oh, he's just like a schlocky pulp writer. One of the doctors like finds like a box of Lovecraft's belongings under his bed and opens it up and finds a copy of Conan
Oh, nice.
in there because, of course, Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard were friends, and he kind of just shrugs it off like, yeah, of course, he's a schlocky writer. But in this dreamy state, as Lovecraft is laying in this bed, he does get a visitor. Now, one thing I didn't love, but it also plays up that the doctors are kind of bad, is they said, like, oh, it's surprising that someone visits him because he doesn't have any friends, which wasn't true. Lovecraft had a ton of friends. He wrote almost 100,000 letters in his life to various friends and colleagues and everything. But he has a visitor, but the visitor's a little weird. It is one Randolph Carter. And if you know Lovecraft, that is a character from his stories. The Statement of Randolph Carter, and it's I believe he was also maybe in the Silver Key or uh, Kadath, one of those. But we find out that is our narrator for this book, who's kind of been talking about all of this, and he confronts Lovecraft in a very interesting way, where it's very much like he's talking about, oh, I'm like a scholar of your life, even though Lovecraft is a little hazy. He's like, didn't I create you? I could just be delirious, but... And he's like, no, I'm a scholar of your life. I've read even papers you wrote when you were 7 years old. And I know, and he goes through all this stuff of like, you hypothesized there was another planet in our solar system, and then you got to live long enough to see Pluto discovered, and all this weird stuff. And it's hard to talk about this because it is very, not, I wouldn't say literary, but it is some dialogue and some story you have to chew on, because it is essentially an author having to reflect on his own creations at the last moments of his life, and whether that be good or bad, and even kind of gets pushed back on him his own thoughts about life and death, which is really, really interesting. But this whole time, Randolph Carter is building something in his hospital room. Now, you'll have to see what it is that he's building, but it's very interesting. Now, this does end in a really unique way with a letter. This 2-page, it looks like a handwritten letter from Lovecraft. And like I said, Lovecraft was, just as much known for his writings, his personal letters to friends, as he is his prose and his poetry. And this letter is to Robert E. Howard, which he has tons of correspondence with Robert E. Howard. But this one is one that never really existed. It's a letter from Lovecraft to a dead Robert E. Howard discussing life and death to a Robert E. Howard that has already died, which he died at a very young age. And it's all really interesting, and I'm very interested to see where this goes. It almost feels like a Christmas Carol with him getting visited by ghosts of his creations past. They don't take him anywhere, but it is a lot of confrontation with your own, history and all of that. I love this. I really did. I am a big Lovecraft fan. I know a lot about him, so I got a lot of this. Hopefully, if you don't know a whole lot, but you're interested in this style, this will inspire you to check out some of that. He's a very complicated individual. A lot of his stuff is unforgivable, but a lot of his stuff is understandable because he had a lot of undiagnosed things. But this is a great. It does feel very European comic. If you know what that means, it is a little bit more, in a not a great of term, artsy fartsy a little bit, but in a really cool way. This would read great in graphic novel as well, I believe. But just highly recommended. I have to put some love out there for it. No pun intended, because I thought this was really cool, and I think it's really cool. Boom is translating this for a U.S. audience or an English-speaking audience. So here is your A cover. That is what your interiors look like. Really cool, very European style art on the interiors. We also have this. This was the Vilches variant. It's really cool. We have a Virgin version of the A cover. I really like this one. This is the Steinbeck. This is our 1 in 10. We're selling for $9.99. We've got a 1 in 15. We're selling for $14.99. I don't remember what artist this was, but it's a really cool portrait. And we also have a 1 in 20 Vilches Virgin variant. We're selling for $19.99.
All right, I've got not a new one, but it kind of feels new. This is Rook Exodus number 7. It's back. Yeah, Rook Exodus took about a year off, I think, or maybe feels about a year or so, right? Released 6 issues, took a break, and now it is back with the start of the next story arc, which carries on from the last story arc. So Rook and Direwolf and Carapace, is it how you say Carapace? The turtles? Carapace? Carapace, yeah. So yeah, Rook, Direwolf, and Carapace are looking for Direwolf's father, the warden known as Bloodhound, because he's the only one who can fix the world engine and thus save the planet Exodus. The only problem is Bloodhound has gone mad. Her father has gone completely mad. So they reach out to another warden named Matterhorn, who is the warden of goats, for help finding him, because Matterhorn, used to work with him. So they think that she might know where he is and maybe how to bring him back from insanity so that he can fix the world. I didn't say the world. It's not going to be easy, though, because not only do they have to find him, like I said, they do have to they have to fix his mind before they can fix the machine. So there's that whole plot point, and then we also, in this is cool because we meet a couple of other wardens who we only saw maybe like in one panel in like issue number 5 or 6 or something like that. So we see a couple other wardens in this as well. So it feels like the world is starting to expand now that we've got the first story arc out of the way that focus only on a couple characters. We're starting to get deeper and deeper now, and there's their designs. You'll see one of the helmets in a second. They just look really cool. So we are on now the second story arc of Rook Exodus. We're trying to fix the world, but we have to fix this one character first. Same artwork. Jason Fabok's artwork is fantastic. If you liked the first 6 issues, this is every bit as good as those. So don't miss this if you liked those, because this is the continuation of the story. So this is our A cover right there. We have this. Is this Jason Fabok? Yeah. This is the Jason Fabok. I don't remember this warden's name, but they are the warden of stags or deer, I think. And so they look really cool.
Their name's Rudolph.
Right, you should be. This is the Kale New connecting cover, so I'm pre-ordering all of these because they form a really nice big image there. And then this is the Gary Frank 1 in 20 variant that we are selling for $24.99 with Direwolf.
Well, next up, I've got another new #1. This
Another one?
is our next book from Ignition Press. They are cranking these out, and they've all been so great. This one is by Stephanie Phillips, and the art's by Letizia Kedonisi. Roots of Madness. So you might have gotten the ash can of these. We had these at the store. You may have seen some sample art in previous Ignition Press issues, but I really enjoyed this, and this also felt very rich in story. We meet a young girl named Etta. She's a young black girl who lives in Chicago in 1890, and she comes from a long line, a family of women who knew how to use the earth and herbs and different roots and all of that to heal various plants and all of that to heal, and they would help their neighbors and all of that, and they documented this in a book. And they would, it was for generations, so some of it was almost you couldn't decipher it. They would draw pictures and they do all that. And Etta really wants to learn everything about this. She wants to know, but her mother is very hesitant to let her do this because it can be very dangerous. Even some of the ingredients they use can hurt you because it's like one of the things is lye, which can burn your skin, and that kind of thing, or they're poisonous. And she really wants to learn about it, and she even kind of sneaks and tries to do it, but hurts herself in doing it. And so her mother's like, "Yeah, you're too young. We're not going to do this." And it seems like, because we jump to well, first, her mother does tell her a story. She's like, "You want to know a little bit more about this?" She tells her a story about this flower that blooms in a swamp, and it is can almost heal anything, but it comes at a great cost. And that, of course, that Etta's mind goes wild with this idea of this kind of mystical flower that glows and everything. But we jump ahead in time, and Etta now runs a remedies and care product store that does use a lot of natural ingredients, and she's kind of the best person in the city to take care of people because of these natural remedies. Because she also, she was growing up, really studied chemistry, and so she kind of combined those, so she could take kind of the ideas that her was passed down through her family of some stuff that wasn't quite quantifiable, and she would do that, but she doesn't have the book. I guess it was never passed to her until one day where a person shows up at her store, and a woman, and she says, "Hey, I know that you know about this rare flower that can almost heal anything. Uh, I will tell you how to get it, but when you get it, you have to help me and my corporation use it." And so she's very intrigued by this thing, but also she doesn't. Clearly, this person's bad.
Yeah.
Like you get those vibes away, and somehow when you read it, you'll see that she does finally come into possession of that book, and now she has to make a decision what she's going to do. This is a really cool um story with like it borders on magic but never gets there. These are real, like just like home remedies that people would use forever. There's no magic potions or anything. It's just knowledge about land. But there is that twist of this flower that might be able to heal people. This feels like it's going to be a really cool book. Where it leaves off is really cool, and I can't wait to see what happens next in it. So, highly recommended. Another great Ignition Press book with Roots of Madness.
They've been coming strong straight out of the gate. They've had so many good ones. Yeah.
So, we've got our A cover here, and we have our variant by your interior artist, Leticia Kedanisi. And that is Etta there, and glowing in her mouth is the flower because it glows like that. So that's really cool. And then finally, we have our cover C. This is a 1 in 5 cover by Paulina Ganichow.
All right. I have got Absolute Superman number 12. This is the start of a 3-part story arc called The Battle of Kansas. And if that sounds awesome, it's going to be awesome, I think. Yeah. So Superman, the last issue, the last story arc was crazy, with Superman being strapped to a table by Brainiac and essentially being operated on, and he busted out of that, and there was all this stuff. So Superman takes Lois and Jimmy to Smallville to to sort of get away from Lazarus and their Arctic base and all that. And we get some flashbacks to when Superman was younger, but on Earth. And I don't think at that point he had met the Kents yet, so he's still kind of alone on Earth and living in isolation. But he has Saul, or Saul or Soul,
Soul,
yeah, to his suit to talk to him. And this story is as much about Soul as it is about Kal-El or Superman as their bond grows, as he's growing up on Earth. But there's no time for rest because Ra's al Ghul is bringing the full force of Lazarus. And there is a page where you see, yeah, that is the full force of Lazarus. He is bringing everybody to Smallville, and will let nothing stand in his way of getting Superman, because he's definitely he's like, Superman's mine. I want revenge, or I want to experiment, or whatever he wants of Superman. He is not going to let anything get in the way of that. So there's some good action in this, but this is kind of setting up like what I'm sure is going to be a big like 2-part battle in Kansas, in Smallville. So just another phenomenal issue of Absolute Superman. This and Absolute Batman are fighting for my favorite one. So there it is right there. There is your A cover. We got some nice variants. Oh, actually, we just got the one variant. This is the Chris Anka variant. And we should have mentioned that at the top, too. Like, we have so many books to talk about on this episode that there may be more variants available on the website than what we have here. We just had so many books. We were just grabbed some of the variants. But check infinityflux.net if you want to see more, because there's probably some more there.
Next up, I have a really crazy one that people are surprised is coming out. This is Cold Slither #1.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this might feel a little bit like G.I. Joe, because this takes the idea of this band that was called Cold Slither, that is made up of dreadnoughts, but this is their kind of like what VH1 behind the music about this band. This is by Tim Seeley and Juan Cabal. And this is played like a news article or one of those behind the music, where what happened to this band, and this goes back to an episode of the original G.I. Joe show. Yep. But this is kind of set now, where it's like, where'd they go after this big, which was a plot from Cobra to kind of brainwash people. What's really funny in here is G.I. Joe stopped them back, I guess, in the 80s when all this happened. But because of social media and like YouTube and stuff, this band got popular again because of kids watching old videos of Cold Slither. And suddenly they're a huge band once again, or at least they've had a resurgence. But the guy who's hosting this goes and like interviews the former members of Cold Slither. And when you find out what happened because of their the popularity of their resurgence online, it's crazy. This kind of spirals out of control, but with a really fun ending to it. So this is kind of like like I said, behind the music of this fake band from an old episode of G.I. Joe made up of Cobra members. But
just a one shot, and it's not part of the Energon universe. No. So we'll make that clear too.
Although there is a nod to Optimus Prime in here, which is kind of funny, but this is just kind of its own thing. Just read it for fun. And definitely read the letter at the end by Tim Seeley,
that's really good.
You learn kind of the whole thought process behind this, and his history with the characters and everything. But here is your A cover. I like how it's not even like G.I. Joe or anything. It's just called Cold Slither.
Yeah, I think on the Comic Geeks app, it does say G.I. Joe : Cold Slither, but there it's just like,
it doesn't say G.I. Joe anywhere.
Yeah, it could be anything,
That's our A cover. And we have a Tim Seeley, I believe this is the Tim Seeley B cover with the headshots of the characters. Oh, and we have a incentive. This is the Schoonover 1 in 10. We're selling for at $9.99.
All right, going back to the #1s for me, we've got Spirits of Violence #1. This was supposed to come out a while ago, I think.
I want to say like
I think
year or so.
I think at the end of the Spirits of Vengeance, the last issue of that, I think it said this was coming like in February of this year.
Okay, yeah.
And now it's finally
I think
here.
it was
So
like early or late last year or early this year.
yeah, so this is a follow-up to that Spirits of Vengeance miniseries that ended back in February. So much so that I actually kind of feel like this should have just been like the next issue
Yeah.
in that, and that series should have been longer. Because at the end of that series, Danny Ketch learned that his sister Barbara is the host for the Spirit of Violence. And I'm not so she's the host, so she kind of looks like a Ghost Rider, but a little bit different, right? I don't really know what her plan is, but it has various Ghost Riders very unnerved. They do not like the fact that she has this spirit of violence in her. And she also has this army of like these supernatural goons that are helping her. That Johnny and Danny have to face off against. There's some cool fights in this as well. There's also a little bit of Vengeance, the character Vengeance, trying to warn Wolverine about the spirit of violence as well. But the two of them just end up fighting, and that was pretty cool as well. I actually didn't finish the Spirits of Vengeance miniseries, so I did have a little bit of trouble following this because this, I mean, like I said, this should have just been the next issue of that. So if you haven't read that, maybe go read that first and then read this. We do know that we're going to get more Ghost Riders in this as well. Robbie Reyes and is it Phantasma, the new champions girl with the rollerblades?
Yeah.
Like basically all of the Ghost Riders, for lack of a better word, they're all going to be in this at some point, taking on the Spirit of Violence, which is Danny Ketch's sister. So go read that miniseries, or if you have read it, freshen up and then check this out. And yeah, so there is our A cover right there. We have this EM Gist variant. This is the Kyle Hotz variant.
The zombie variant.
Oh, that is, yeah, the Marvel Zombies variant. I didn't even realize that. This is our 1 in 25 Simone variant that Simone Bianchi variant we're selling for $14.99. And then this is the 1 in 50 EM Gist the Virgin variant that we're selling for $99.99. Just under $100. You can't beat that deal.
Next up, it's crazy that Absolute Book is this late in the show. This is Absolute Green Lantern #7, and this issue is wild. This is so weird. This is one that Matt needs to reread to fully understand
I do. I read it so quickly before this show. I need to go back and...
I had to read this and then reread parts of it to fully understand it, because this one has two guest artists on it, Jason Howard and Riley Rossmo, which is really interesting to see. This does not include Joe Mullen, Hal Jordan's not in this, the new Jon Stewart not in this. Almost no familiar faces from the book so far, but with a lot of familiar faces from Green Lantern in general.
Yeah.
This takes place in space. Like, this is, kind of the ultimate form of all these things we've been learning about. We see them in action in space. We've got someone else that has the Black Hand, and we learn what their kind of job is and how they're used. We see other color lanterns, even though I don't even know if you could call them that in this. There's red ones, and there's other ones you kind of see what they're able to do. You can see one right here, a certain Tomar, and the last page on this is crazy, where I did not see it coming, and it feels like it is setting up some future storylines for Absolute Green Lantern, and maybe even more beyond that. So I don't want to give away too much in this, because since it is so foreign to what we've been reading so far, I realized what the last...
Oh, that, yeah, I forgot what it was. Yeah, the last page is really cool.
So it's so different than what we've gotten so far that anything I said would be a spoiler. Just that you get some space battles and you get some familiar characters, and we see how some of these new lantern powers can be used. I feel like I need an encyclopedia to go along with this. I feel like that for a lot of Al Ewing stuff. This one in particular, I need a thesaurus about all of these different Tomars and Abens and Sewers and all of that, and the color spectrum. But I really liked it. I really like the art on it, and hopefully as we read more, this will all be a little bit easier to follow But yeah, this was kind of like you learned all that. Now here's it in action. Crazy issue. Here is your A cover that doesn't even scratch the surface of all you see in here. We've got I believe the Gilliam March cover featuring Joe Mullen, who is not in this issue. We have a Lee Eric's cover with Joe, not featured in this issue. And we have a Turin Clark variant with Hal Jordan, who does not appear in this issue.
All right, I've got another new one from Image. This is called Good Devils Don't Play Fair with Evil. This is a one-shot from Nick Dragotta and David Brothers. This is 64 pages, and this is a big one. This is a square-bound book as well. And this is a collection. I had to try to figure out what this was exactly. This is a collection of 3 previously available stories, 2 of which take place in the same post-apocalyptic world. So there's 3 different stories. Like I said, the first one is called it's Good Devils. It's from Cry Punch manga anthology from 2021, so it's not new. It's not like brand new stuff. And in a post-apocalyptic future, there are these 2 women named Bella and Oya who attended the same fighting school together, but they're now at odds with each other. Bella wants to live in peace, but Oya wants to rule this dome known as Haven. And this story is really cool because it looks exactly like a traditional manga. It's even like, I mean, even you can tell, like, I think they said they had to scan the original pages to get it in here. So the pages are actually like the size of a manga, and there's just like white space on the top and bottom. But it's black and white. It has like the duotone kind of the what do you call them? The little dots.
It's
That kind of thing. Yeah. So it has that stuff in it. Lots of cool action in that one. There's another story called Fight Like Hell. This is a short box comics fair digital issue from 2023. A young man named Jay, Jei, he's the greatest boxer alive in this same post apocalyptic world from the first story. He's the greatest, that is, until he isn't, because he winds up in heaven fighting Samson. He wants to fight Samson because he says Samson's the strongest man ever. But that's not the end of his story there either. And then there's another story called Go Back and Get It. It says it was serialized in Newburn, which I remember that series from Image. It's serialized in Newburn's number 9 through 12 from 2023 to 2024. It's about a young man who is part of this gang or like this crime family. He's trying to get out of the city to save to get to his sick mother. He steals some money, like $80 or something, from a convenience store to help get out of the city and get to her. But that just creates that one incident creates a whole bunch of other problems that just kind of snowball into mass chaos, basically. So an interesting book. All the artwork is from Nick Dragotta, and the 2 of them worked on both of these. Again, these are not original stories for this book. They were collected from other works from other periods in time, but very interesting.
Sounds like maybe some hard to get stuff now.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not like your typical thing. They were just like they were available in one like special issue here or there. So, but if you're a fan of David Brothers writing, Nick Dragotta's artwork, definitely check this out because there's some really cool stuff in here.
It's the only cover.
Yeah, that's the only cover.
Next up, I've got Gotham Academy first year number 1. This is a return to Gotham Academy, but like I said, year 1, this is going back to before the previous Gotham Academy series from a few years ago. This is by the original creators of Brendan Fletcher, Becky Cloonan, and Carl Kerschel. This time with art by Marco Ferrari. And this sees our character, Olive Silverlock, who was one of our main protagonists, along with Maps, who later had a story where she was Robin and all of that. This is Olive's kind of first year at Gotham Academy. She was saved from a fire at her home by Batman, and then Bruce Wayne helped her get into this boarding school. And this feels very much like the show Wednesday, with like her in this very weird house and these weird characters that are there. It is very like Batman adjacent, but don't expect to see a ton of familiar faces in here. I remember the original series had kind of some cameos and this and that, but this does kind of feel like a almost its own world within Gotham. So we meet Olive, and she's having a hard time fitting in at this school. We meet the cast of characters, and there is a mystery that starts to emerge by the end of this. So it was really fun. If you like the previous Gotham Academy, Definitely pick this one up. And if you didn't read it, this is still a good jumping on point because it takes place before that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when this is over, you could go and read the original Gotham Academy series and enjoy it. So, really fun. Here is your A cover. We've got a Dustin Nguyen cover with some of your cast of characters. And we have this Sweeney Boo variant. There's a bat.
In a belfry.
Yep.
Oh. All right, I've got another number one. This is White Tiger Reborn. Now, this is a one-shot, and this has two different stories in it. The first one is simply titled Reborn. It's from Daniel Jose Older. Didn't you work with him on?
Yes.
On which book was that?
I worked with him on
Star Wars.
Yeah, a couple of Star Wars books.
So it's written by him. The artist by Bruno Abdias, and this is about Ava Ayala, who is the current White Tiger. She's been struggling with a feeling of not living up to the legacy of her brother Hector, who was the original White Tiger, and this has kind of prevented her from feeling the connection to the Tiger God. And after meeting with a psychic or like this mystic woman, she learns that her brother's soul is not at rest. And she thinks that maybe the way to fix that is to learn the truth behind why her family was killed when she and Hector were little. There's a deeper mystery there. So this leads her to a confrontation with an established Marvel villain and a new start for Ava as the White Tiger. And that's her right there. So new start for this character. And then there's a backup story called Song of Kokwi, the frog. Is it Koki or Kokwi? The frogs from Cynthia Paleo and Moises Hidalgo. And Ava and her niece Angela, who also used to be the White Tiger, they had a falling out in a while back about who would be the White Tiger, but they reconciled their differences after they both saved this scientist from being kidnapped by some Roxxon goons. So I'm not really sure where this is going to go after this. This is just a one shot for now. We know we're probably going to get more. Well, we saw White Tiger in Daredevil Born Again, and I think we're going to see his daughter in the next season. So maybe this is kind of getting greasing the wheels for that. But just a nice little one shot with some good artwork. So yeah, there you go. There's the A cover, and that's the only cover we have.
Next up, another new number one. This
What?
is Savager. Number one. This is our next book from Panic Entertainment. Same ones doing Toma. This is by Dirk Blackman and Shannon Eric Denton with art by Kuber Ball. This is set in 2136, 100 years after a big event that happened. This is set in Pittsburgh, and the city is overrun by these animal monsters. That's what we first see, but we do know that it goes crazy from there. And this is our character we follow. I don't even know if we get his name in this.
It says it, I think, in the solicitation or something in there says
yeah. But years ago, holes opened up in the sky and meteors fell to Earth, except they weren't exactly regular meteors.
Yeah.
They were alive. They were these little bug things that infected the living creatures around them like zombies almost.
Riley Phillips is his name.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever say that
yeah.
in the actual book because he doesn't really talk to too many
There's
people.
There's a little blurb here in the opening cover that kind of fills you in on the state of the world.
Yeah, and so most of this book follows him, and he, as we gradually go through it, learn that maybe he also wasn't safe from this incursion of these creatures. But this is full of action as he fights all these monsters in this kind of overgrown version of Pittsburgh. They're very like mutant monsters. We learn about kind of this infection that has taken place over time. And we learn that maybe some of these creatures are not trying to feed themselves, but they answer to a higher power that is pretty crazy when it's revealed at the end. But I thought this was really cool. The art was really cool. Very action-packed. Like, not a whole lot of dialogue. Most of this is just him. It feels almost like a video game, like a prototype or something.
Prototype, that's exactly, that's a lot like what it's like.
Even the power set and everything is very prototype-like.
And this has like the softest cover. I'm like, I want to sleep on it.
The soft
like
touch.
it feels so nice and smooth. It's oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It feels like almost squishy, like a stress ball or something.
So I really recommend this one. It was a lot of fun.
Really
I didn't go in detail too much, but there is story in here along with the action, but it would kind of give away some of the twists and turns of it. But really enjoyed this, and man, we've got Ignition Press and Panic Entertainment both
Yeah.
putting out really interesting books.
Yep.
And these companies that kind of just bloomed out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got our A cover right here, and that's the only cover we have.
All right, let me just hit a button on. We're doing the TikTok thing, so let me just hit a button on that real quick. All right, so I've got Department, not a number 1, a number 0, Department of Truth number 0. This is celebrating the 5th anniversary of Department of Truth. I haven't read Department of Truth in a really long time, so I was a little bit confused. But then again, I was always confused reading Department of Truth anyway. But in this, there's 2 stories in this one. The first one is the department brings in a new recruit, a guy who believed that kids were being held captive in the basement of a pizza parlor, if that sounds familiar. And in this world, in this story, if enough people believe a conspiracy, then it actually gets manifested into reality. So you can imagine what that might be like. So the department brings in a guy who really, really believed that, and they're going to give him an assignment. They're going to bring him on into the agency and give him an assignment. So maybe we'll see that in another issue. There's also a backup story by Scott Snyder and Joshua Hickson that is the first of a 3-part backup story giving us the secret history of Elvis Presley. Which sounds weird. The last page to that one is wild. So I'll be interested to see where that issue goes. But yeah, so Department of Truth fans, do not miss this special number 0, and I'll be curious to see like where it goes from here. Because usually like stuff like this is like a one and done kind of thing. But this seems like it's going to carry forward. So we'll have to see. So that's our A cover right there. We have this 1 in 10 Hickson variant that we're selling for $9.99, and there's Elvis Presley right there. And then we have this 1 in 25 Muller cover that we're selling for $19.99.
Real quick, just want to mention Star Wars issue number 6. This does wrap up this little story going on with Luke and Han and Valance and them on this planet against a bunch of Clone Wars era battle droids. They do put on the clone trooper armor to deal with them. And yeah, just kind of wraps up that little thing and then continues the story going on with Leia outside of that, flipping back and forth between them. But the weird thing in here, one of the pages in here felt like a really low-res JPEG.
Yeah.
It was really blurry,
Yeah.
and I wonder if they're going to send out replacement copies or something, because surely they'll have to catch that. But other than that, it was still readable. It just kind of stuck out weird. But we've got our A cover here by Phil Noto. We've got this, I love this variant cover. This is the Casanovas variant cover. I just love the colors. Are really nice. We've got this Bengal Master and Apprentice variants, Jedi Knights variants with Anakin and Ahsoka. And we also have this 1 in 25 Luke Ross variant. It's really nice. We're selling for $19.99.
I have got here Adventures of Superman Book of L number 2. Superman he in the last issue went into the 30th century, and now he's there with his descendant, I guess, Ronan Kent. They travel to the Fortress of Solitude so that Superman can use the temporal glider to get back to his time. But there is somebody already in the fortress who I guess lives there now, who he is very surprised to see and who is very happy to see him. So I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I really want to know more about that. And we learn a bit more about the state of the world in the 30th century and who rules the world now and that kind of thing. So again, this is continuing on, piggybacking off of Philip Kennedy Johnson's War World saga, the House of L stuff from Future State. All of that stuff is continuing in here, and here is the second issue. So there's our A cover. We have this Riccardo Federici variant, and this is that Serge Acuna, Serge Acuna variant with Osul and Otho. They're not in this though. I remember their names though. That's pretty cool.
We're making progress after like 2 years.
Right.
Next up, I've got a one-shot Masters of the Universe Andra. I didn't get to read this as in-depth as I wanted to, but this is written by Tiffany Smith, who is the voice actor of Andra in the new Masters of the Universe series. Yeah. And the art is by Adriana Mello. Follows Andra as she is the new man-at-arms, struggling to train some new cadets. but there is a threat from Count Marzo, who is an awesome character, was in the original Master Universe cartoon, but really had a cool spotlight in the 2000X series. This takes a lot of inspiration from that, and there's some other 2000X era characters that show up that were only kind of exclusive to that series.
I love that series.
I love seeing. I had the figures of all of them, so that was really, really fun, and I just have the one cover for it.
I've got New Avengers number 5, and in this one, the New Avengers take on Mr. Ouroboros, who is the evil clone of Reed Richards. And it's crazy that they fight Mr. Ouroboros in this, and there's a story in the Zatannic Panic called Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Like, that's coincidence. This whole issue essentially is one big fight between Mr. Ouroboros and the New Avengers. And Bucky makes, at the end though, there's something crazy. Bucky makes a shocking discovery about who helped the Jackal create the Killuminati in the first place.
Ooh.
Because the Jackal did not act alone. There is somebody helping him, and Bucky finds out who it is. And then there's going to be some more to that, I think so. But there is our A cover there, and that's the only cover we have.
Cool. Next, just quickly mention Cheetah and Cheshire rob the Justice League. I love each issue of this, where we get another stage of the two with their plan of robbing the Watchtower, and we get another piece in here. How are they going to get into the Watchtower? The way they do it makes a lot of sense, is really fun, and has a surprising guest star of a character we don't see in general a lot, but we definitely haven't seen in a while. And I thought that was really fun. So if you've been enjoying this series, don't miss issue number 3.
Any variants for that one?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm all out of variants.
My last one is Ultimate Wolverine number 10. And in this one, Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red, they find the opposition's base and they launch an attack, and not everyone survives. And that's all I feel comfortable talking about, because it's pretty surprising. So but yeah, so Ultimate Wolverine's been great. We're a couple months away from Ultimate Endgame, and I'll be interested to see how this feeds into that, if at all. So there's our A cover right there. We have this Philip
cool.
Tan variant. I like that one a lot. And we have this 1 in 25 Scon variant that we're selling for $19.99. We haven't seen Wolverine wear his little mask in a while. So
He kind of retired it.
Yeah.
Last for me, I'm just going to mention it, is Red Hulk issue number 9. I like to report in if there's some Red Hulk in it, and there is.
Some.
So, yeah, not a ton,
Yeah.
but there is some. And some stuff that does tie back into One World Under Doom as well.
Mhm.
So if you're enjoying it, don't miss out on Red Hulk issue number 9. And that is it. I don't want to keep anybody any longer than we have to, but there was so much to go over. Maybe our longest episode ever.
I was going to say, is this the longest one ever? I was wondering if we would get to 2 hours, but we're not quite.
I don't think my bladder can handle that. So head over to infinityflux.net right now. Order these books while supplies last. It's a huge week, and there's so many awesome books that you don't want to miss them. People are going to be talking about them, and you don't want to miss. You don't want to be late. Don't want to get spoilers for them. So go ahead and order them. Make sure to like and subscribe, because we got all this fun content every week.
Yep.
We got our video coming up on a Wednesday. We'll be going over early comics that you can pre-order. And that is it.
Yeah.
So, until next time, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and
See ya.